Before you ask the general question,
Yeah.
you must tell me about that lovely story about...
I did.
There's a girl in my soup.
I did. It was my second.
At 79, Goldie Hawn has finally lifted the velvet curtain on her life behind Hollywood's glimmering facades. Golden hair bouncing, laughter still infectious, and eyes that seem to hold every secret of Tinseltown, she has witnessed more dramas than the cameras could ever capture. For decades, Goldie wasn't just America's sweetheart, she was a woman unafraid to pursue pleasure, unafraid to speak her mind, and unafraid to claim her desires without apology. Hollywood has always been a playground for the daring, the ambitious, and the beautiful. But few have danced through it with the same fearless abandon as Goldie. She's been admired on screen, gossiped about in boardrooms, and fantasized over by millions. Yet, for nearly 6 decades, the true stories, the encounters that defined her life and taught her the nature of power, passion, and intimacy, remained locked away. Until now. Because at 79, Goldie Hawn is done protecting reputations. She's done shielding egos. She's done keeping secrets. And in a series of revelations that have shaken Hollywood to its core, she's named 7 men, 7 actors who shared more than scripts and screen time with her, 7 experiences that shaped her understanding of desire, intensity, and self-discovery. These were not sweet romances. They were wild, consuming, and electrifying affairs with some of the most iconic men of their time. 7 encounters. 7 lessons. 7 explosions of passion that Hollywood insiders whispered about but could never confirm, until now. Warren Beatty was the first to truly see Goldie for what she was. He was a man accustomed to conquering, a seducer with a reputation in every Hollywood set. But when he met Goldie backstage at a 1971 television taping, he discovered a woman who refused to play by anyone's rules. She was 26, golden curls bouncing, eyes mischievous, smile disarming. He was 34, confident, experienced, but completely unprepared for the force of nature in front of him. Unlike other actresses who tried to charm him with sophistication or coy flirtation, Goldie looked Warren in the eye and spoke honestly. What she wanted, what she desired, what she needed, it was all laid bare. That honesty drove Warren wild. Their affair ignited immediately, lasting 3 months but leaving marks that would endure a lifetime. Friends said he became obsessed, calling her at odd hours, showing up unannounced, desperate for just one more night with the woman who shattered his carefully orchestrated world. Goldie taught Warren the difference between conquest and connection. She wasn't a trophy to be added to a collection, she was a storm, untamable and unapologetic. And though the affair ended as suddenly as it began, Warren never forgot the woman who had shown him the true power of authenticity. If Warren was the spark, Jack Nicholson was the wildfire. By 1973, Jack was Hollywood's bad boy, the man who left women breathless and the world captivated by his magnetic chaos. Their first encounter was inevitable, a Robert Evans party, the kind where the elite surrendered to pleasure, gossip, and temptation. Goldie watched him from across the room, studying the intensity, the hunger behind his gaze. When Jack finally approached her, it was with the predator-like directness he was known for. The words he whispered remain a secret, but witnesses say Goldie's entire demeanor transformed. The giggly blonde disappeared, replaced by a woman ablaze with desire, ready to consume and be consumed. They left together that night, beginning a week-long affair that scandalized even Hollywood's most jaded observers. Jack's charm was reckless, intoxicating, and uninhibited, but Goldie matched it step for step. They disappeared for days, holed up in his Mulholland Drive home, emerging only for food or to steal another fleeting moment together. The relationship burned hot, short-lived, but unforgettable. Jack later admitted that Goldie was one of the few women who could keep up with him, the one who understood that pleasure wasn't to be rationed, it was to be seized. By 1974, Goldie's Oscar win for Cactus Flower had elevated her to Hollywood's most desired woman. Enter Ryan O'Neal, a heartthrob whose charm was as strategic as it was relentless. Unlike Warren or Jack, Ryan didn't rely solely on passion or intensity, he pursued Goldie like a director perfecting his craft. He studied her, predicted her responses, and pursued with calculated devotion. Their first encounter at a private screening was electric. Ryan cornered her, stating explicitly what he wanted, what he imagined, and how he envisioned their connection. Most women would have been taken aback by his boldness. Goldie? She felt heat rising in her core, recognizing a man who matched her appetite for authenticity and pleasure. The affair lasted nearly 2 years. Weekends at Malibu beach houses became marathons of passion, discovery, and mutual obsession. Ryan taught Goldie the difference between sex and intimacy, showing her how to give herself entirely, body and soul. But his possessiveness cast a shadow. He demanded exclusivity, career compromises, and total devotion. For all the pleasure, Goldie chose herself over obsession, leaving the relationship with regret, but a deeper understanding of her boundaries and worth. As the 70s progressed, Goldie's reputation only grew. Then came Burt Reynolds in 1976, a man whose charm was matched only by his confidence in his own sexuality. Their first meeting at a Hollywood fundraiser was electric. Goldie entered the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. Burt excused himself from his admirers, his gaze locked on her, a predator captivated by his equal. Their night together lasted until dawn, a masterclass in anticipation, pleasure, and exploration. Burt was unafraid of Goldie's appetite. He encouraged her to explore desires she had suppressed, turning intimacy into art. Over months of clandestine meetings and stolen moments, they redefined what it meant to connect physically and emotionally. Burt later called her the most uninhibited woman he had ever known, a rare, meaningful compliment from a man who had experienced Hollywood's legendary beauties. Though passionate, their relationship was unsustainable. Both were at the height of their careers, fiercely independent, and unable to reconcile time demands. They parted amicably, leaving behind memories that would fuel Hollywood fantasies for decades. The late 70s brought Goldie face to face with Al Pacino, a man whose intensity came from the depths of his craft, not calculated charm. Fresh off The Godfather and Serpico, his presence was brooding, irresistible, and emotionally consuming. They met at an intimate dinner party in the Hollywood Hills, where small gatherings allowed for real connection, something Goldie had long craved. Al's seduction was different, no charm, no practiced lines. He offered raw emotional honesty, sharing fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities. Their affair lasted 6 months, each encounter a mixture of psychological depth and physical intensity. Goldie discovered a woman who could match his emotional complexity, someone able to navigate the psychological undercurrents of passion. Yet intensity has its cost. Nights spent in emotional extremes, and the all-consuming nature of their connection made continuation impossible. They parted with deep respect, leaving memories that redefined intimacy and emotional expression in Goldie's life. The 80s arrived, and with it Don Johnson, Miami Vice's epitome of charm and sexual allure. Goldie first encountered him at a private Hollywood Hills party, where his effortless charisma and adventurous appetite immediately captured her attention. Their chemistry was undeniable. Don's methodical approach to pleasure combined with playful theatrics. He encouraged Goldie to explore fantasies, turning physical intimacy into a form of performance art. They spent nearly a year together, orchestrating elaborate scenarios, pushing boundaries, and blending pleasure with creativity. But as Don's cocaine habit escalated, their connection fractured. Goldie had seen the destructive path addiction carved in Hollywood and chose survival over indulgence. Still, their time together was unforgettable, a testament to pleasure pursued without apology. The final encounters surprised everyone. Robert Redford, Hollywood's golden boy, the image of wholesomeness, yet secretly harboring depths of desire. Their meeting came in 1987 at a private screening in Aspen. Robert's approach was intellectual foreplay, engaging Goldie in hours of conversation about art, storytelling, fame, and responsibility. When their physical encounter arrived, it was deliberate, controlled, and savored, a masterclass in refined passion. For one night, the public persona fell away, revealing a man capable of exquisite restraint, intensity, and fulfillment. Robert taught Goldie that desire could be quiet, sophisticated, and intellectually stimulating, proving that passion takes many forms. 7 men. 7 affairs. 7 lessons. Warren taught Bert showed confidence. Al brought emotional depth. Don offered adventure. Robert proved sophistication. Each man, each encounter, was a teacher in the curriculum of desire that Hollywood rarely acknowledges. Goldie Hawn, at 79, has lived fully, loved fully, and embraced pleasure without apology. She never hid, never compromised her desires, and never let propriety dictate her happiness. Hollywood may try to brand its legends as untouchable, untarnished icons, but behind the scenes, passion, power, and human desire always leave a mark. These revelations don't just rewrite Goldie's story, they force the world to confront the truth about Hollywood, fame, and intimacy. Because behind every great man, there is a story of love, lust, and lessons learned. And Goldie Hawn knows them all. Hollywood is a world of illusions, of glittering sets, flashing cameras, and whispered secrets. But for Goldie Hawn, fame was never just about the red carpet or the awards. It was about the lessons hidden behind the glitz, the knowledge that desire and power often intersect in ways the public will never see. Each of her 7 affairs wasn't just a story of passion, they were lessons in human behavior, intimacy, and the courage to embrace one's own needs. Goldie learned early that seduction is more than physical attraction, it's a dance of vulnerability, understanding, and timing. She saw how power could intoxicate, how intensity could both consume and liberate. And she realized that while Hollywood celebrated youthful beauty and charm, the true currency of desire was confidence, authenticity, and the audacity to claim one's pleasure. Even decades later, Goldie reflects on those nights not with shame, but with clarity. Each man taught her something invaluable. Warren taught her to trust her instincts, Jack taught her to embrace unpredictability, Ryan showed her the danger and thrill of obsession. Bert proved that playful confidence can ignite passion, Al revealed the depth of emotional connection, Don brought creativity and adventure, and Robert demonstrated the power of restraint and intellectual allure. For decades, Hollywood whispered rumors, circulated gossip, and speculated on Goldie's love life, but the truth was always locked behind closed doors. No magazine article, no tabloid headline, no public scandal could capture the intensity of her experiences. The intimate moments, the stolen nights, the private confessions, they were hers and hers alone. Goldie's life reminds us that behind every public persona is a private world of desire, curiosity, and self-discovery. For young actresses, for aspiring performers, for those watching from afar, the lesson is clear: pleasure, agency, and authenticity are not just personal, they are revolutionary. Goldie never conformed to Hollywood's expectations of a good girl or public image. She pursued what she wanted, navigated power dynamics with grace, and never allowed anyone else to define her happiness. These 7 men, Warren, Jack, Ryan, Bert, Al, Don, and Robert, were all icons in their own right. Yet, according to Goldie, their encounters with her left impressions that went far beyond public admiration. Warren was humbled by her directness, Jack learned that intensity has limits, Ryan discovered that obsession could be respected but not demanded. Burt Reynolds found a partner who could match his wit and daring, Al Pacino connected with someone who understood emotional vulnerability, Don Johnson experienced pleasure as performance art, and Robert Redford discovered intellectual seduction could be just as intoxicating as physical intimacy. Through these encounters, Goldie changed Hollywood as much as Hollywood shaped her. She reminded powerful men that women were not trophies to collect, they were forces of nature to respect, partners in exploration, and teachers in their own right. The world has always seen Goldie Hawn as the giggling blonde, the sweet Hollywood icon, the charming actress with golden curls and a radiant smile. But behind that facade lies a woman of intelligence, courage, and unapologetic desire. Through her affairs, Goldie revealed not only her passions but also her boundaries. She knew what she wanted and refused to compromise it, teaching herself, and others, lessons about respect, communication, and self-worth. Her story proves that even in a world dominated by ego and ambition, a woman can claim her sexuality, shape her destiny, and redefine her legacy. Hollywood often celebrates men for their conquests, their charm, and their charisma. Goldie shows that women, too, can leave a mark on legends, influence narratives, and teach men the most profound lessons in intimacy and connection. Power and pleasure are often intertwined in Hollywood, a city built on dreams, desire, and influence. Goldie Hawn's life exemplifies how one can navigate both with sophistication and courage. Each of her lovers represented different aspects of power: Warren's charm, Jack's intensity, Ryan's obsession, Bert's confidence, AL's emotional depth, Don's adventurous creativity, and Robert's intellectual sophistication. Yet Goldie's true power was her ability to choose herself over anyone else's expectations. She learned that pleasure is not passive, it's a skill, an art, and sometimes a form of resistance. By embracing her desires, she claimed control over her narrative, refusing to let Hollywood dictate who she could be or who she could love. At 79, Goldie Hawn looks back on her life with a sense of liberation. She has loved fiercely, pursued pleasure unapologetically, and never let propriety define her. The 7 men she named are more than lovers, they are milestones in her journey of self-discovery. Each affair taught her lessons about passion, resilience, and the courage to embrace life fully. Goldie's story is a testament to freedom, the freedom to love, to desire, to explore, and to speak the truth without fear. It is a reminder that behind every legend lies a personal story of strength, adventure, and audacity. And Goldie Hawn has lived hers with unparalleled grace, wisdom, and intensity. While Hollywood glamour dazzles the world, Goldie Hawn knows the price that comes with desire. For every passionate encounter, there were moments of risk, judgment, and scrutiny. Being a woman who claimed her sexuality openly in a male-dominated industry invited gossip, envy, and sometimes betrayal. Yet Goldie embraced it all, understanding that the pursuit of pleasure and authenticity came with consequences. Her affairs with legends like Jack Nicholson and Ryan O'Neal weren't just sexual, they were lessons in emotional navigation, power dynamics, and self-awareness. She learned that intensity could be intoxicating, but also destructive. That vulnerability was a strength, not a weakness. And that true pleasure requires honesty, courage, and the refusal to be confined by societal expectations. Goldie's courage in embracing these experiences laid the foundation for a Hollywood legacy defined not only by talent but by audacity, independence, and unapologetic authenticity. Hollywood has always thrived on secrets. Gossip columns, rumors, and backstage whispers create myths that last decades. Goldie Hawn lived many of these whispered stories firsthand. From clandestine hotel meetings to intimate dinners behind closed doors, she saw the private lives of stars in a way the public never would. Yet Goldie's insight goes beyond titillation. She observed how power, ambition, and desire intertwined. Men like Al Pacino and Robert Redford were not just lovers, they were mirrors, reflecting back the intensity, curiosity, and unapologetic confidence she carried. Each secret encounter taught her the subtle ways influence and attraction work in Tinseltown, lessons she would carry for the rest of her life. What many don't realize is that Goldie Hawn's relationships weren't merely physical, they were instructive. Each man taught her something about herself and the dynamics of intimacy. Warren Beatty showed the power of authenticity, Jack Nicholson demonstrated the thrill of unpredictability, Ryan O'Neal illustrated the intoxicating danger of obsession, Burt Reynolds revealed how confidence and playfulness could heighten desire, Al Pacino taught emotional vulnerability, Don Johnson explored adventurous theatricality, and Robert Redford proved the sophistication of controlled passion. Through these experiences, Goldie became not just a lover, but a student and teacher of desire. She navigated complex power dynamics, asserted her needs, and emerged with a profound understanding of intimacy that few Hollywood icons could claim. Fame often blinds the world to reality. Fans see a glittering facade, journalists report polished narratives, and studios craft images that feel untouchable. But behind the curtain, Goldie Hawn witnessed the truth: Hollywood is messy, human, and intensely passionate. She watched men of extraordinary talent struggle with personal demons, make bold romantic moves, and sometimes fail spectacularly. And through it all, she maintained her agency, her voice, and her integrity. For Goldie, fame never meant sacrificing authenticity. It meant learning, surviving, and thriving amid chaos, indulgence, and desire. Goldie Hawn's life proves that power and intimacy are often intertwined. Men like Ryan O'Neal and Al Pacino carried influence, charisma, and dominance both on screen and off. Navigating relationships with them required not just passion, but intelligence, tact, and courage. Goldie learned to assert her desires, communicate boundaries, and recognize when an experience served her growth versus when it risked her well-being. Hollywood might have celebrated the men, but she claimed her agency, demonstrating that true power lies not in conquest, but in understanding one's own needs, limits, and pleasures. Goldie's story is not just about romance or scandal, it's about strength. Behind every glamorous smile is a woman navigating challenges, asserting autonomy, and embracing life unapologetically. Goldie showed that women could pursue pleasure without shame, demand respect, and shape the narrative of their own lives. Her encounters with legendary men were not acts of submission, they were exercises in equality, agency, and self-discovery. Goldie Hawn proved that even in a male-dominated industry, a woman's desires, choices, and passions are powerful forces that can leave lasting impressions on those around her. From her early days backstage with Warren Beatty to sophisticated evenings with Robert Redford, Goldie Hawn evolved through her relationships. Each encounter added layers of self-awareness, emotional depth, and sexual confidence. She became a woman who understood the intricate dance of desire, the thrill of intensity, and the beauty of restraint. Her journey wasn't just romantic, it was transformative. She discovered the nuances of attraction, learned to navigate egos and expectations, and embraced a life where pleasure and autonomy coexisted. Goldie's story illustrates that the evolution of a woman in Hollywood is as complex and compelling as any blockbuster script. Goldie Hawn's revelations aren't just gossip, they are lessons. Young women entering Hollywood, aspiring actresses, or anyone navigating desire and ambition can learn from her experiences. She demonstrates that true power comes from self-knowledge, courage, and the refusal to compromise one's desires. Her life teaches that intimacy is not merely about physical connection, it's about honesty, exploration, and understanding. That one can embrace pleasure without shame, navigate complex relationships with clarity, and assert agency even in the most challenging environments. Goldie Hawn's story reminds the next generation that independence, self-respect, and unapologetic passion are more valuable than fame, fortune, or approval. Goldie Hawn's revelations have not only shocked fans but sent ripples through Hollywood itself. For decades, the men she named, Warren Beatty, Jack Nicholson, Ryan O'Neal, Burt Reynolds, Al Pacino, Don Johnson, and Robert Redford, were considered untouchable legends. Their reputations, carefully curated, have been intertwined with mystery, allure, and public admiration. Now, those whispers are being replaced with acknowledgement, speculation, and, in some cases, admiration for Goldie's courage. Insiders admit that her stories are plausible, authentic, and a vivid reminder of the hidden dynamics behind closed doors. Studio executives, journalists, and former co-stars alike have been forced to confront a reality they had only imagined. Goldie Hawn's influence wasn't just on screen, it was personal, intimate, and transformative. Her boldness is rewriting Hollywood narratives. Legends who once commanded admiration now face scrutiny, not for their craft, but for what they revealed about human desire in private moments. Yet Goldie remains